You're listening to the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. Remember to like, share, comment, subscribe, and click the bell to make sure you get the latest episodes of the podcast. Be sure to like and share our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Dibbly Dobbly Podcast. And on today's episode of the podcast, we're previewing the ODI series and the T20 series between Australia and Pakistan. And the Australian summer has well and truly started with this ODI and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan. And I think everyone's excited for the summer in Australia and the start of the international summer and the start of cricket in general. We've had the Sheffield Shield going, the Women's Big Bash, you name it, lots of things happening. But the Australia and Pakistan ODI and T20 series will well and truly kick off the international summer, that's for sure, as we progress into the main course of this Australian summer, which is the Australia and India Test Series for the Border Gavaskar Trophy, which is well and truly the centerpiece of the summer. But for Australia and Pakistan, it's the starter, and for the main course, Australia and India. So I think everyone's excited for this Australian summer. Now, this ODI series and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan, will it be a domination across both series for Australia? Or can Pakistan cause an upset or two and try and salvage what has been a very disappointing calendar year in 2024 for Pakistan? They haven't really performed well across the board. So they'll be hoping to, get some success on this Australian tour and hopefully win a game or two, or maybe win a series across the ODI and T20 series against Australia. But for Pakistan, they're definitely going to be tested up against a very good Australian team. They've selected a very strong ODI and T20 squad for the two series, and we'll discuss that a bit later on in this preview episode today. But I think Pakistan will be itching at the bit to, salvage something from what has been a very disappointing year. So lots to talk about, plenty to discuss, talking about how both Australia and Pakistan will go about things across the ODI and T20 series. Plenty to discuss, plenty to talk about. And without further ado, let's get into it. But first of all, before we do that, let's have a look at the fixtures for the Australia and Pakistan ODI and T20 series, just to familiarize yourself with all the games that are happening around the country here in Australia for this Australian summer. We'll start with the ODI series. 3 ODIs for the series. The first one at the MCG, that will be on the 4th of November. The second game of the ODI series will be at the Adelaide Oval. That will be the 8th of November. And the third and final game of the series will be at the Perth Stadium. That will be on the 10th of November. And that's pretty much the ODI series done and dusted. Then we head into the 3 T20s to start on the 14th of November, the first one at the Gabba, the second one at the SCG on the 16th of November, and the third and final T20 of the series will be in Hobart at the Bell Reeve Oval, and that will be on the 18th of November. So a short, sharp, quick ODI and T20 series, and pretty much a very quick tour of Australia for Pakistan in summer 2024-25. So that's the fixture for the ODI and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan. Let's have a look at some of the stats between Australia and Pakistan across ODIs and T20s and see how they line up head-to-head in terms of a statistical nature. And we'll start with the ODI stats between Australia and Pakistan. Australia head-to-head in ODIs overall. Australia lead Pakistan 70 wins to 34. Both teams' records in Australia and ODIs, Australia lead that, 37 wins to 17. Leading run scorer between the two countries, Ricky Ponting. Not a surprise there, 1,107 runs. Leading wicket taker, again, not a surprise, Wasim Akram with 67. Most dismissals, not a surprise, Adam Gilchrist with 44. Most catches, Steve Waugh with 19. Most matches, Wasim Akram with 49. And the first ODI match that these two teams played was back in 1975. And that was the first ODI between Australia and Pakistan. We'll have a look at the T20 stats. And head-to-head in T20s overall, Australia and Pakistan. Australia 11 wins, Pakistan with 12. They lead their head-to-head by one victory over Australia. Both teams' records in Australia in T20s. Australia lead that 3-0, which is a pretty dominant display. Leading run scorer between the two countries, David Warner, 397 runs. Leading wicket taker is Saeed Amjad with 19 wickets. Most dismissals, Karman Akmal with 12. Most catches, David Warner with 12. Most matches, Shoaib Malik, I should say, with 17 matches. And the first T20 match between the two sides was back in 2007. So those are the T20 stats between Australia and Pakistan. And that's how they line up head-to-head on a statistical nature. So let's talk about both Australia and Pakistan and their chances across the ODI and T20 series. Have a bit of a talk about the squads, sort of the goals, the ambitions, the objectives, the key performance indicators that both teams will be looking to achieve across these two series, and discuss at length what both teams are going to do. So we'll start with the home side, Australia, and we'll have a look at their ODI and T20 squad just to familiarize yourself with both the squads. So Australia, the ODI squad they have selected is as follows: Cummins, Fraser McGurk, Inglis, Labuschagne, Short, Smith, Abbott, Connolly, Hardy, Maxwell, Stoinis, Hazelwood, Stark, and Zampa. So that's the ODI squad. The T20 squad Australia selected is as follows: Abbott, Bartlett, Connolly, David, Ellis, Fraser McGurk, Hardy, Inglis, Johnson, Maxwell, Short, Stoinis, and Zampa. And that's pretty much the T20 squad that Australia have selected. Two very strong squads that Australia have selected for these ODIs and T20s against Pakistan. A couple of key talking points to discuss. Pat Cummins returns to the ODI squad to captain. He didn't play in the ODI series a couple of months ago against England. He was resting up for a big summer ahead, so he didn't take part of that series, but he's back at the helm. Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh on parental leave. They're having time with their families before a big summer and a big test series against India, so they're going to have some time off. So they're not a part of the ODI and T20 squads. Alex Carey has been omitted from the ODI squad. He did pretty well in the last series in England, scored some runs, and he's in terrific touch going into the summer. But unfortunately, Carey can't find a spot in the ODI squad, so he's been left out. Marcus Stoinis comes back. Marcus Stoinis was left out of the ODI squad against England a couple of months ago in September. So he comes back to the ODI squad, Marcus Stoinis. And the T20 squad, a bit of a look into the future. There's no test players at all. There's no Cummins, there's no Stark, there's no Hazelwood, there's no Mitchell Marsh, there's no Travis Head because they've been rested. They're on parental leave, as I mentioned. So with the T20 squad that Australia have selected, it's a bit of a look into the future of what we may expect for Australia going forward in T20 cricket in terms of the major players, the test players, as I mentioned, probably not featuring in the years to come. So it's sort of a bit of a look into the future, which is good, gives opportunities to those players who've been selected to really push their case going forward. And very exciting to see what they can do in that T20 series against Pakistan. So as I said, two very good squads, very strong squads, very capable of performing well across the two series. Obviously for Australia, some goals and some objectives in the series. Obviously for the ODI stuff, pretty much working towards the Champions Trophy. Champions Trophy is next year, early next year in Pakistan. They'll be building towards that tournament, looking to win that tournament because Australia love to win tournaments, as we know. Obviously giving opportunities to younger players, the likes of, Cooper Connolly, for example, obviously Matt Short, Fraser McGurk, opportunities to those players, Aaron Hardy, the same. That's what we saw in the ODI series against England a couple of months ago now. Giving opportunities to those sorts of players. And Australia will continue to do that in this ODI series. Now, obviously, with no Travis Head in the ODI squad, as I mentioned before, being rested, that gives an opportunity for Fraser McGurk and Matt Short to open the batting in this series against Pakistan. I think it's a great opportunity for those two to really show what they're made of and really take the opportunity, because when Travis Head comes back, you would think either Fraser McGurk or Matt Short will partner with Travis Head. Now, Matt Short played in the ODIs in England a couple of months ago and did pretty well. He scored a 50. I think he scored 250s. I think he scored 150 from memory. I think that was in the last game in Bristol. And he did pretty well in that last game in that run chase for Australia where they won on Duckworth Lewis. So he played that series a couple of months ago, did pretty well. Matt Short scored some runs, which was good. Jake Fraser McGurk didn't really play in the series at all. He only played in the T20s against England and Scotland, and that was about it. Didn't feature in the ODI setup. Didn't feature in the ODI series at all. So good opportunity for Jake. Good opportunity for Matt. Without Travis Head in the side, one of them will potentially partner Travis Head going forward beyond this Pakistan ODI series. So a real opportunity for those two to show the selectors what they can do and hopefully nail down that spot to be the partner to Travis Head at the top of the order. And obviously with that as well presents some opportunities. So the ODI squad, not much to talk about. Pretty strong, capable. You would think Australia would do well against Pakistan in these 3 games. They are the world champions after all. Even if they are missing a few players or two, like Travis Head and Mitchell Marshall, will make no difference because all of those players selected have done pretty well for Australia over the years. And also with Pat Cummins, Josh Hazlewood and Mitchell Starc, and in particular in terms of the bowling attack, probably all of them will probably not play all 3 games. The reason they're playing is to have a bit of a run around before the Test series against India. But I won't be surprised if we won't see them all play together. They'll probably be spaced out. They'll probably play 1 or 2 games max. I don't think they'll play all 3. Maybe Pat Cummins will have a rest for a game or 2, and probably Steve Smith will captain as he's done in the past. So pretty much for the ODI side, Australia, nothing else to say, really. Pretty much well on track to keep on improving with the ODI stuff. And just another thing is that with the ODI stuff, obviously the series against England a couple of months ago, a few areas of improvement. They would have learned a lot from that series against England. Even though they won the series 3-2, there were some areas of concern that they needed to improve on with their batting at times and their bowling. So just to tighten up those areas, and no doubt they'll certainly do that against Pakistan. So that's the ODI stuff for Australia. We'll move on to the T20 stuff. And obviously Mitchell Marsh being rested, obviously being the captain of the T20 squad for Australia. There's no captain. Australia haven't announced a captain for this T20 series against Pakistan. And there are some candidates you would think that could do the captaincy. Obviously, there's a few players in the squad that have captained their respective BBL teams. You got Glenn Maxwell, who's captained the Melbourne Stars. Matt Short's captained the Adelaide Strikers. Nathan Ellis, even though he's a bowler, but he's captained the Hobart Hurricanes last season. So you've got some candidates who can be the potential captain for this series. So that's the one question that Australia will have to try and answer, is who's going to captain the team, really, in the absence of Mitchell Marsh. I would think, probably Matt Short, I would think, is the most likely candidate. Really, is there any point giving the captaincy to Maxwell, who's sort of towards the back end of his career? Do you really want to put Nathan Ellis under some pressure with the captaincy? He's coming back from injury because he didn't play in the ODIs or the T20s against England when Australia were touring there a couple of months ago. So probably Matt Short is the most likely candidate to be captain. He's quite young. He's in his mid-20s. He'll be a player that could be featuring in the T20 side for years to come. He may be the potential successor to Mitchell Marsh in a couple of years' time. You never know. So good opportunity for the selectors to probably award him the captaincy, see how he goes, and maybe a potential leader in the years to come. And good to see Spencer Johnson, Nathan Ellis back, as I mentioned with Nathan Ellis, obviously with injuries. And it's good to see Spencer Johnson back. He's had some niggles with some injuries. Nathan Ellis has had some injuries as well. Good to see them back. They're pretty good T20 bowlers. So looking to see what they can do in this series against Pakistan. And you have a look at the rest of the squad, full of T20 experience. All of them have just about played in the BBL. Well, in fact, all of them have. Nearly all of them have played in the IPL as well and played at various franchises around the world. So they've got that experience. And also it's a good opportunity for this T20 squad looking ahead to the T20 World Cup in a couple of years' time, looking to, build a squad for that as well. So good opportunity across the 3 games against Pakistan to do that in this T20 series. And a bit of a glimpse into the future, obviously with no test players involved, gives a bit of an insight of what could potentially be the squad for Australia going forward in T20 cricket. Obviously when the test players do eventually retire and move on. So I think with the T20 stuff for Australia, pretty good squad, very experienced, a lot of potential, a lot of talent. A lot of players will want to make their case going forward to the selectors, and I think they'll take that opportunity with both hands. And you would think they should do well in the series against Pakistan, and should probably win the series. But we will have to wait and see. But just to wrap up about Australia for this preview episode today, pretty good ODI squad. T20 squad the same, pretty good as expected. Should do well in both series across the ODIs and the T20s going forward. And, definitely going to be a challenge for Pakistan to try and beat Australia across the ODI and T20 series this Australian summer. It's definitely going to be a challenge. But for Australia, they'll be looking to just continue on, looking to get better, looking to improve and, crossing the boxes off and looking to, build towards Champions Trophy, T20 World Cup in a couple of years' time. Good opportunity for players to really make their mark against Pakistan this summer and hopefully put their hand up. So we'll have to wait and see on that front. We'll move on and talk about Pakistan. Let's discuss Pakistan and talk about their ODI and T20 squad for the 2 series against Australia. So we'll have a look at their ODI squad that they've selected. Rizwan, Shafiq, Azam, Khan, Irfan Khan, Arub, Jamal, Aga, Ghulam, Arafat, Akram, Ralph, Hassanain, Naseem Shah, and Shaheen Shah Afridi. That's the ODI squad for Pakistan. The T20 squad as follows: Rizwan, Azam, Khan, Irfan Khan, Yusuf, Farhan, Usman Khan, Aga, Khan, Abbas Afridi, Arafat, Ralph, Naseem Shah, Shaheen Shah Afridi, and Muqeem. And that's the T20 squad that Pakistan have selected for this series against Australia. For Pakistan, it has to be said that 2024 has been a challenging year for Pakistan cricket. And it was good to see Pakistan win against England in that test series recently, 2-1 at home, which will definitely boost the spirit of the Pakistan cricketing fraternity and family and the Pakistan team in general. But it has been a challenging 2024 for Pakistan across many of the formats, but in particular in Test cricket and T20 cricket. They haven't played a single ODI at all this year, up until this ODI series against Australia. So it's nearly a year since they've played ODI cricket, and that's going back to the 50-over World Cup last year. So it's a long time that they haven't played an ODI up until this point. Also, many challenges. There's been many changes in terms of coaching. Gary Kirsten, who was the coach of the ODI and T20 setup, has resigned. Jason Gillespie taken over both the ODI and T20 responsibilities as coach. Obviously, Mohammad Rizwan is the new captain across ODIs and T20s for Pakistan. So there's been a lot of changes. The selectors have changed. Everything's changed, which is not a surprise when it comes to Pakistan cricket. They always tear up everything and change everything when things are not quite going the way that they would have liked, which is no surprise. So for Pakistan, realistically, this ODI series, T20 series against Australia, it's all about trying to improve, trying to build consistency, trying to build a core group of players together, really. And I think they've got to approach that sort of mentality in this series. Probably Australia should win both series, but if Pakistan, put it together, they may win a game or two across the ODIs and T20s. But really for Pakistan, it's all about building consistency and just trying to, build a team culture. Rizwan is the new captain, looking to put his stamp on the teams and looking to build something. And especially with Jason Gillespie now taking over from Gary Kirsten, looking to build that partnership with Rizwan and the team and hoping that can be something that Pakistan can take forward. Obviously, they've got very good players who are capable. We saw them last summer in the Test series against Australia. We saw the likes of Rizwan, Shafiq, Azam, Amir Jamal was pretty good on that in that Test series. Aga was good, showed some promise. So they've got players who are capable. Obviously, they've got some players who are a bit out of form. Obviously, Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi, Naseem Shah, who were dropped for the last two Test matches against England. They've got a point to prove across this ODI and T20 series against Australia, is that they will want to get back into some form. They haven't been quite at their best. They've been dropped. They'll be looking to come back and hopefully put in some good performances and hopefully get back into that Test side, but also find a bit of form and a bit of confidence. And they've got a point to prove there as well. And also it's a good opportunity for Pakistan. You look at the ODI side of things, the Champions Trophy, Pakistan, a major tournament at home. Champions Trophy will be big if they can do well in that. They obviously won in 2017 in the final against England. The last time the Champions Trophy was contested. So for Pakistan, they will want to build towards that Champions Trophy early next year. And with the T20 side, let's be honest, it was a very dismal, poor T20 World Cup early this year in the Caribbean and the USA. The loss to the USA in the super over of that game was pretty hard to take. And they didn't perform well across that tournament. So, they're looking to, get back on track in the T20 side of things, look to rebuild and get back on track and build confidence, which is the important thing. For Pakistan, the last few games in ODIs and T20s against Australia, it's been very difficult. Australia, in the last 5 ODIs against Pakistan, have won 3 of the 5. Pakistan have won 2, and those wins came in 2022 in that ODI series in Pakistan. And then you have a look at the T20 side of things. Australia have won, well, pretty much all of them, really, except there was one game that was a washout and no result. That was back in 2019-20. So Pakistan, the last few games against Australia in both ODIs and T20s haven't been to their liking, but they can certainly turn those numbers around. And for Pakistan, it's been a long time since they've won an ODI in Australia. Basically, the last ODI series that Pakistan played in Australia was back in 2016-17, where they won that game at the MCG by 6 wickets. And they lost that series 4-1 in the best of 5. That was the series where David Warner and Travis Head scored big hundreds in Adelaide and put on 200 for the first wicket in the last game of the series. And really, we really saw what Travis Head pretty much had, really, in terms of his potential, which he's fulfilling currently at the moment. So that was the series that we really saw Travis Head really blossom as an international cricketer. And the last time that Pakistan won a ODI in Australia. In terms of the T20 stuff, really, Pakistan haven't won a T20 in Australia. The last T20 series was back in 2019-20 in Australia. They lost that series 2-0 in the best of 3 because the first game of the series was washed out and Australia won the next 2 games. So Pakistan will be looking to rectify those statistics and really look to try and get something out of this year, because it has been a very tough year in terms of, cricket for Pakistan this year across all 3 formats. It's been very difficult for them in this calendar year. So just to wrap up about Pakistan before we move on in this preview episode today, realistically for Pakistan, it's all about the small wins. It's all about the small wins and trying to gain a lot of things from this series. If they could have players who have success in terms of scoring runs with the bat, someone scores a big 100 in the ODI series, for example. On a bowling perspective, someone takes wickets and gets back into form or takes a 5-wicket haul across both ODIs and T20s. I think that will be a good outcome for Pakistan. They're going to be tested up against Australia. They've, as we know with Pakistan, they're inconsistent. But if Pakistan play their best cricket on the day, they can certainly beat anyone. And we all know that. But it's all about trying to do that consistently. So I think for Pakistan, realistically, it's about, obviously, you want to win both series. That's the goal. But realistically, if you can't do that, try and get something out of the tour. You know, a lot of players have a lot of points to prove. Some players are out of form, looking to get back into form, working towards a Champions Trophy, trying to build that. Hopefully, we can put in some good performances for that tournament. No doubt Pakistan wants to perform well in that tournament next year. So there's a lot of things that Pakistan can get out of this tour of Australia across the ODI and T20 series. They've got players who can excel in both ODIs and T20s. They've got the talent, they've got the skills. It's just about doing that consistently. And for Pakistan, really, just to, build and work towards success. So as we know with Pakistan, they can get a bit impatient when it comes to results and, not liking what they see. And obviously we all know the revolving door in Pakistan cricket. Players come in, players come out, selectors come in, come out, coaches as well. You're never going to build success if you keep doing that. So they've just got to try and stick to one thing and try and build off that. And hopefully this tour of Australia, they can start doing that and obviously get some consistency and get some results in their favor. But as I said, they've got players who can do it. If they play their best cricket on the day across the ODI and T20 series, then they can win a game against Australia. We can't discount that. Pakistan have a knack of doing things special. And probably they may do that in this ODI series and T20 series against Australia, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. And I think, if you're a Pakistan supporter, you'll be hoping that the team can at least, put in some good performances. If they can't win both series, at least put some good performances in and, get something out of the tour and hopefully get something out of a calendar year that has been very difficult and tough for Pakistan, probably in their history since they got into the cricketing family. So, we'll wait and see what happens with Pakistan across the ODIs and T20s against Australia. Moving on, and let's talk about predictions. Let's predict who's going to win both the ODI and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan, and who's going to be the leading run scorer and leading wicket taker. So let's start with the ODI series and predictions for that. I've gone with Australia to win 3-0. I think Australia, being world champions, they've done well in ODIs in 2024. They've won 6 games and lost 2. They've had a good time of it in ODI cricket. I think Australia should win 3-0. Leading run scorer, I've gone with Josh Inglis. He's been in good touch at the start of the Australian summer, Josh. He'll be hoping to continue that in this series. So I've gone with him as the leading run scorer. Hopefully he can translate that form he's already picked up in the summer into the ODIs for Australia. Leading wicket taker, I've gone with Adam Zampa. No surprises there. Obviously quality. And you can always rely on Adam Zampa to pick up wickets. So Australia to win the ODI series 3-0, I would think. We move on to the T20 series. I've gone with Australia to win 3-0. You never know. As I mentioned earlier, Pakistan, if they play their best cricket on the day, they may win a T20. We know in T20 cricket, it can be very, who does better on the day sort of thing. It's a sort of lottery, really. If you execute your skills on the day, you have an opportunity of winning the game. So if Pakistan can play well, they can at least win a game or two, or maybe win the series. But I've gone with Australia to win 3-0. Leading run scorer, I've gone with Matt Short. He could be the captain going into this T20 series if Australia select him as captain in the absence of Mitchell Marsh. He's done pretty well in the Big Bash over the last few years for the Adelaide Strikers. So he may score a lot of runs in this series. And leading wicket taker, I've gone with Adam Zampa again because he does pretty well in T20 cricket with the ball, as we know. He's a proven wicket taker, Adam Zampa, over the years. So pretty much Australia to win the ODI and T20 series. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know your series predictions. We would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Who do you think is going to win both series? And who do you think is going to be the leading run scorer and leading wicket taker for both the ODI and T20 series against Australia and Pakistan? We would love to hear what you have to say in the comments. Some concluding thoughts to end our preview of the ODI and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan. Now, if we're honest, this ODI series and T20 series with Australia and Pakistan will obviously probably won't get the attention as it might, because this isn't really the main attraction of the summer in Australia this cricketing summer. Obviously, with India coming out, the Border Gavaskar Trophy is pretty much the main centerpiece, the main show, the main act of this Australian summer. So this ODI and T20 series with Australia and Pakistan probably won't get the attention as many people would think. But I suppose with ODI cricket going the way it is these days, that's probably fair enough. But T20 cricket, everyone has their own sort of perspective with T20 cricket and own sort of views when it comes towards that, if they're interested or not. But you'll get people watching, and that's the main thing. But obviously both teams will definitely gain a lot from the ODIs and T20s. Obviously both teams working towards the Champions Trophy next year, especially with Pakistan, the home nation, the host nation. They would like to win that tournament like they did in 2017. So there's something for them to gain in this series as well. And also working towards that. The T20 World Cup in a couple of years' time, both teams looking at different players, looking to try different things, looking to build towards that tournament in a couple of years' time. So there's plenty of goals and objectives to achieve. There's plenty of things to get out of this, tour for Pakistan and also for Australia across the ODIs and T20s as well. So plenty of things for both teams to gain from it. Now, as we mentioned before, Australia should be favourites to win both the ODI and T20 series, but you can't discount Pakistan. We know Pakistan can do something special. They can pull something out of the bag. They can surprise us. They can play very good cricket. They've got talented players who can do special things. But with Pakistan, it comes down to consistency and trying to do that for, game after game, which is the challenge for them. But Pakistan, they'll be looking to try and salvage what has been a very disappointing 2024. And if they can, start on the right note, this tour of Australia, hopefully they can start something. New captain in Mohammad Rizwan. You've got Jason Gillespie taking over now. Can they form a partnership? Can they get something going? Who knows? Because in world cricket, we want a good Pakistan team. We want Pakistan to be playing well, and we want them performing well. And that can only be a good thing for world cricket, to see Pakistan really perform well. We know what Pakistan can do. We know what they're capable of. It's just about trying to build consistency and stick to a plan, and success will happen. But if you keep changing things, which they have been doing, then that challenge becomes very difficult. But they can certainly get there if they build consistency. So let's hope that this tour of Australia, they can definitely do that going forward, Pakistan. But it should be a couple of good series, the ODIs and T20s. Australia and Pakistan always play good cricket against each other. The rivalry is very strong. And we saw that in the Test series last summer when Pakistan were out here for the Test matches. Very good spirit, and both teams have a good rivalry. So let's hope we see that across the ODIs and T20s. Thanks everyone for listening to our ODI and T20 series preview between Australia and Pakistan. If you're watching or listening to this episode of the podcast on our YouTube channel, let us know your thoughts on this ODI and T20 series between Australia and Pakistan in the comments. We would love to hear what you have to say. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep safe and bye for now.